Today, we're going to be going over, got some people joining, the Statewide Energy Assistance Program, and that is RFP number 5223203. My name is Brittany Wagner. I'm the RFP coordinator. If you're just joining, this meeting will be recorded, so if you come in a little bit later, you can reference it. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Commerce, these are some of the areas that we work in. Housing and homelessness, obviously energy, community services. We're a pretty well-rounded organization. For today's agenda, we're going to go over the RFP's program design, study, and summary, the project timeline, and then we'll get to any questions that you might have. Okay, so Statewide Energy Assistance Design Study. Legislature asked Commerce to recommend a design for a statewide low-income monthly bill assistance program. We will not be recommending the legislature adopt a statewide program. It will be left to the legislature to decide whether it wants to pursue a program or not. Human-centered design. We are seeking a consultant with over 10 years of experience in human-centered design work and experience developing story-based presentations. And again, for those that aren't familiar with the RFP process, this is all laid out in there, and we can provide that document if you were not able to access it through webs. So what will the consultant do? They will develop illustrative prototypes of the program, design and facilitate workshops of the prototypes with low-income households and community organizations that specialize in serving low-income households. They will also analyze findings from the workshops and identify ways to improve program accessibility. The contractor will work with Commerce and other state agencies to update and refine program design elements and prototypes, develop a standalone presentation of the findings from the workshops and prototype development and refinement, and create a storybook presentation that lays out multiple ways households and community organizations can access and receive benefits under this statewide program. Commerce will bring draft materials to help the consultant start each deliverable and provide all the meeting logistics and get households or community organizations to the meetings. Questions to address and proposed work plan. The RFP, as I mentioned, provides questions to help responders navigate key project questions in their proposal. So again, if you need access to that, please message in the chat or you can email me. So the timeline for this process is a bit quick. The question and answer period opened on March 1st and it will go until March 31st. Proposals are open right now, but due March 31st. Commerce will evaluate the proposals starting on April 1st, and we will announce the apparent successful contractor on April 3rd. The contract negotiations will begin that day, and the earliest that we can get a contract signed is April 16th. So again, fast turnaround time. And I know that was kind of a quick and brief overview, but we really want to open the forum. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask now. You can come off mute, put them in the chat. And then also my email is on the next page. Oh, nope, I didn't add my email in there. I will, let me type my email in the chat, folks. And you can email me at any time until that March 31st deadline with questions you may have.
And for folks on the recording, it's Brittany Wagner as spelled on the slide. There's a dot in between Brittany, so brittany.wagner@commerce.wa.gov.
Thank you, Austin. I appreciate that.
All right, should we go back to the questions slide, see if anyone has questions or anything?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I had a couple questions, although thank you for confirming the timeline for questions, because I'll probably have more. But I wanted to ask about something specific from the RFP under task 1, project management. The very first task is called 1.1 project plan. And there were 2 lines in there that I just wanted to get a little more clarification on. The last 2, basically the last 2 bullets. So preliminary methodology for determining costs and financial impacts, and then proposed approach to providing and collecting data requests to participating utilities. Would it be possible to elaborate on those a bit in terms of like, are those the costs and financial impacts of the eventual program design, or costs and financial impacts of kind of this project and the things that will cost money on this project?
Great questions. Thanks, Sarah. I think both of those probably could have been worded a lot better. If I think the key is for to think more about how the contractor's budget will work with the different pieces, and it may be redundant of the budget being broken down by task and subtask is my thought. I think maybe we would actually get rid of that bullet. And then the proposed approach to providing and collecting data requests to participating utilities. I think for folks navigating that, the interaction with the utilities is largely going to be through Commerce. So if there's any need to get additional information, I would expect the contractor to work with Commerce to attain that information. And I think that could have been clearer in the RFP. So great questions. Are there follow-up questions to those 2?
Yeah, that's super helpful. Just to make sure I'm understanding, when you say the contractor would work through Commerce, in terms of like if there were data requests, you're not talking data requests in the eventual program design. You're talking like, again, over the course of this project.
Yeah, over the course of the project. For instance, if you were setting up a workshop in a particular location and you had interest in knowing a little bit more about the programs that are taking place there, because you might have a household that comes in, wants to discuss certain aspects of a program. And I think it would be important for any consultant to also be able to kind of if you get a household that is one question the consultant will have to work through with Commerce is determining whether a household that participates in the workshop should be a household that may have been already enrolled in a program, or someone who hasn't been. Most households are not enrolled in programs at this moment. But let's say having context for what the participation rate looks like, what the program design is, so that you can understand what barriers those households might be facing or what access they have is kind of key. So for both of these bullets, I think I wouldn't be so focused on them. They might even, I think, be reworked in the final contract that we negotiate. So they would not be top ones. I'm impressed by the focus on those and finding those in there. But it's not something that on our end I would be really looking for, and might even just delete from a final negotiated contract.
That's totally fine. Thank you for clarifying.
And Austin, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and make those edits and post an amended version of the RFP to Webs. So we can talk about that after if that's necessary. in theory, that would populate to you if those changes were made.
That might be something we choose to do, because I don't want folks getting hung up on those ones.
Yeah. So any other questions, feel free to come off mute or type them in the chat. And, this is not the end all be all. You're welcome to email me at brittany.wagner@commerce.wa.gov anytime until the 31st with questions. And we'll give it a few minutes.
Sarah, do you have any other questions? I feel like maybe you said you had a couple other ones, or were those?
I did have one more that was just really minor.
Okay.
On page 2, the RFP lists principles to guide program design. Really helpful to see those. The fourth one down says the program administrator should be able to cross-enroll customers. I guess I just wanted to clarify, who is the program administrator? Is that, I understand that it's neutral because we don't know who it would be, but like in theory, like Commerce or a utility or a nonprofit, but whoever, or do we have a sense of who the program administrator is?
Yeah. So we can provide the list of principles. I think these are largely them. And why, so a little bit of context, and then I will answer that particular bullet. So when we started this work, we wanted to understand, we've held about 7 workshops with utilities and statewide advocacy organizations, and then we went and held meetings with community organizations. And over the course of both of those workshops, we've kind of built out a list of things that are going to be kind of guide the development and evaluation of different program design options. And so these are in many ways aspirational principles, but they're also grounded in some understanding of what the system constraints can be. We continue to work through things. And one of the key things that we haven't done, and that we've heard a lot from community organizations in particular, was, hey, you need to work with households on this as well. And so we are currently going through that process. And so the principles could be changed and be updated and revised based on that. And I would the hope is that we've got a fairly firm set by the time we get to this work here. But I could see, if we encounter something along this work, that we could tweak these or improve these further. The bullet that you asked about, the program administrator should be able to cross-enroll customers and other low-income assistance programs. And this does use the term customers, but I would think of it much more as households. The goal here is, I think there's multiple ways in which we could think about cross-enrollment. One is where somewhat like an integrated eligibility and enrollment program, where folks would sign up for one program and they'd automatically start receiving benefits from multiple programs. We have an ongoing process in Washington evaluating that. And this program that we're talking about could be plugged into that integrated enrollment and eligibility application. But that has been many years in development. It's very hard to do, and we're not banking on that. That's kind of the highest level. Secondly, though, I think where this comes from is the idea that a lot of the community action agencies that enroll households today in utility programs also say, hey, you should sign up for this, that, and the other thing, and provide wraparound services. And so the idea is whether, community action agencies, other community organizations, or if it was a state entity, that they would at the very least be able to provide some level of kind of wraparound service for a household as part of this program. And so that's what we are looking at as part of this work. If there's other opportunities to like put this, we have a Washington Connection page, which helps people find the programs they're eligible for and get them what they need. Could we tap into that? We are working on that. Other areas. So, and I hope that kind of answers that question. And then the way I've been thinking about these is putting these in like a chart, doing a written explanation because of like summary of the different options that we consider. And this would be something that Commerce would be doing, not part of this contract per se, but it's informed by everything. And then, I haven't figured out how we would do it, but I was thinking like a thumbs up with 5 different degrees about like how well we achieve the different principles under different program designs. And some of these might not be a total thumbs up. It might be, somewhere along the spectrum given different system constraints, but because we don't want to overpromise or anything else, but trying to figure out what we can do. So
That's super helpful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for all that context.
Just give it a second, see if anybody else on the line has a question. If not, we can end early and not take the whole hour, but I will be available for questions and we can get them over to Austin if needed, but I'll be the point of contact, so please feel free to message.
yeah, thank you all for attending and for your questions. Again, feel free to reach out. We want this to be for everyone as painless of a process as possible. So happy to answer questions as you go through, and we'll post those at the end, as Brittany said. So
Yeah, so Austin, actually, do you mind posting that webpage? I believe it's on the last one in the chat.
Yeah.
So we will post the Q&A page to Webs along with where you found this RFP listing. But this recording, this slide deck, and the Q&A document, we are going to post online for folks to be able to reference. And we'll put that web address in the chat.
And that is our so this project kind of has an awkward home right now, partly because of its legacy of coming out of the law, our 100% clean electricity law, the Clean Energy Transformation Act, or CETA. But you can, we haven't posted any of these materials yet, but we will on the page post this information. It'll be linked to a Box account. And you can find this page by opening your Google and typing CETA, which is the acronym for CETA, or for the Clean Energy Transformation Act. We pronounce it as CETA. And then energy assistance, and you'll be able to pull this web page up. The web page is quite long, but it's www.commerce.wa.gov / growing the economy / energy / CETA for CETA, CETA / energy assistance. So you should be able to pull it up there as well. So and
Yeah.
Brittany's pulled it up. Look at that.
Yeah, just to give you a visual of what the webpage looks like. We're not probably sure where we'll have it, but it will be on this. It'll be housed on this webpage.
Yes, there'll be up on there the CETA links, a link to the Box account, and then if you scroll down, Brittany, you can see a whole bunch of information we have up here. Don't worry about digesting this for the RFP process. This is part of Commerce's responsibility to convey information to the contractor. But if you keep scrolling down to the next one, there's a state-wide program design study. And under this larger tab, there'll be one for the RFP process in particular. So the rest of this will reference workshops and upcoming events. That's all Commerce's process with the utilities and statewide advocacy groups. So no need to concern yourself with any of this information in response to the RFP. I think everyone has what they need. If you don't, send questions, but I think the key is to kind of lay out the process and examples and other things that are noted. The questions will help you guide. The subject expertise will be provided by Commerce. On the energy assistance programs, we're looking, of course, for the human-centered design expertise. So.
Great, thank you for that clarification. All right, well, if there's no more questions, I think we will wrap it up, and you all have the resources necessary. And again, please feel free to reach out with any more questions. Thank you for attending.
Thank you all.
you.
Bye now.
Thanks.